Hey guys, welcome back to the Diet Doc Life Mastery Podcast. I'm Joe Klemczewski here with Dr. Kori Propst. We're going to switch gears a little bit and go into nutrition, but it's still psychology because we're going to talk about, can you intuitively eat? Can you refrain from just rigid, dogmatic diets and still actually lose body fat and reach physique and physical health goals? I think Kori Propst is going to say we can.
I think we can. I think we can. It's a revelation. Joe, I have so many clients who, when they start to diet, it's just extreme, like macros, meal plan, black or white, all or nothing, always never. And it makes sense because that's what most diets on the market promote, right? It's this is what you can have and this is what you can't have, and don't ever deviate. So chronic dieters unite around that being just the way that you do things. Well, that doesn't work. We know this. That's why the diet doc exists, because the traditional way of dieting is not long-term effective. There are other ways of eating, and one of those is intuitive eating. And a lot of my clients who come out of this chronic dieting mode, having lost a bunch of weight and gaining back even more and doing that again and again and again and again, come to me saying, I would really just love to intuitively eat. But they still want to lose body fat. They still want to be healthy. They still want to be able to bend over and tie their shoes and get on the floor with their grandchildren and run a 5K if they want to. But at the weight they're at, they can't. So can we marry these two modes of our goals? Can we marry intuitive eating and fat loss?
So I want to back up and say, first of all, the tagline for the Diet Doc, which you came up with, is color outside the lines for this exact reason. This is exactly what this means, is there is no simple, hard, fast rule, one principle that you can adopt and then everything is solved. There is a lot of things happening at once. And, you know, my hobby horse is to constantly remind people that even though the human brain makes binary decisions, yes, no, right, left, good, bad, we make them at about 1 trillion per second. And so we're just constantly in this feedback loop of making decisions and centering back on our values. And then if our behaviors don't match that, then we have all this cognitive dissonance. And now what do we do? And so it's just like a hurricane of possibility in our brains. So this is where these two concepts come together. Can structure and creating some type of form help us? Of course. But can we also be intuitive throughout our day, throughout our week with that? So Kori, come back to those two principles and say, how do we make both of them work together?
Yeah, so I'll use my life as an example. I know that I wouldn't achieve what I have and want to without some level of routine, without some rules, without some boundaries, without some fundamentals that I put into place on a daily basis. And yes, a lot of those are food-based. Rules have a place. So what a lot of people think intuitive eating is throw out all the rules, throw them all out. It's just eat whenever you're hungry and stop when you're full and just listen to your body. Well, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to most people, but that's not what intuitive eating actually is. There's a huge misunderstanding about what intuitive eating is. There is an element of eating with your intellect. And go ahead.
Can I jump in with just a little example of that?
Yeah.
So I had a goal for my day, and I thought, okay, I want to make sure I have this much space between meals because my eating has gotten a little muddied throughout the last couple weeks, and I just, you know, I've actually been achieving a goal, and so I'm really excited about that. I'm like, I don't want that to get off track. So I had this goal today specifically, and then I walked in, I looked at my schedule, and I thought, holy crap, I've got 4 hours of calls in the afternoon. I can't do that. I have to eat now or I won't eat until dinner. And so my entire structure went out the window. I had to scramble and adapt and create a new plan. but now it's going to be, quote, the same at the end of the day, just different.
Okay, you made a few very good points. The one that I'm keying in on right now, and probably because this is front and center with a lot of my clients who I'm working with currently, is plan. Plan. Not in your head, not just in your head, write it down. Here are my intentions for the day. This is when I'm going to eat. And if this comes up or that comes up, and I need to deviate in some way, here are the ways in which I can do that. That's intuitive and it's intelligent. But, so I want to say this, each of the intuitive eating, each of the principles, Joe, can be looked at on a continuum. There's 10 principles of intuitive eating. It's not just eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full. There's 10. And they're all really important. But the first principle of intuitive eating gives us a really important understanding of why intuitive eating works. Because the approach rejects the dieting mentality. I reject the dieting mentality. The diet doc rejects the dieting mentality, which is that very binary, black and white, inflexible way of eating that never amounts to success. Okay? So this means that we're not following externally mandated rules for eating only, okay? And that we literally are considering the body's needs. The reason why this topic feels super relevant for me right now, besides the work that I'm doing with all my clients, is that Dr. Eric Helms, who you know very well and who we've done a lot of work with, and some of his colleagues published an article recently. And this was about bodybuilders specifically, but what he was proposing was that physique competitors in the off season adopt a model of intuitive eating, okay? Because they need to restore a healthier relationship with food and reestablish a connection with their bodies. Other studies have shown that intuitive eating interventions, so you can compare a group of people eating intuitively with a group of people who are doing a weight loss intervention. And they're all chronic dieters, right? When the intuitive eating group had significant reductions from baseline to 2 years follow-up in total cholesterol, triglycerides, systolic blood pressure, and this is why I think it was important to Eric, but it's really relevant here too. Significantly decreased disordered eating behaviors, body image disturbances, and depressive symptoms. And we know that chronic dieters who are just latching on to that next Whole30 keto diet, really rigid, strict, inflexible meal plan, that's exactly what happens to them.
So this is a great segue, I think, into what we're going to talk about in our next episode.
Okay.
Because moving away from any kind of rigidity means you have to center your intuition or intuitive eating on some kind of value. Why am I doing this? Is that value strong enough to actually take me forward even without having all of that rigidity? So awesome that you brought up that study. I know that was something Eric was proud of, and I've already had a lot of people in the industry, asking me about that. So good stuff.
Great.
All right, Dr. Kori Propst, thank you for that. And you guys, we will see you next time as we move forward into life mastery topics, including life values. Come back for that one.
Thanks, guys.